Welcome back to Soccer Cards United. It's episode 278 of the greatest soccer card podcast in the world. My name is Jason. That's Enzo. Hello, Enzo. What's on the show today?
Hello, Jason. Today we are looking at Panini Prizm Premier League. We're going to look who to look out for in the Champions League final, and we're also going to be discussing something called the dead wax theory.
That all sounds very serious and interesting. Let's go. Okay, Enzo, so we're going to start with Panini Prizm Premier League, which has been out for over a week by now, but we're just getting around to it on the show. And let's start with actually something that is more timely, and that is Premier League Prizm Choice, which is out tomorrow, the 9th of May. And this is the box. A slight redesign on the box, I think, this year from Panini.
Yeah, it just looks a bit different.
You have your choice parallels, etc. I like choice because it doesn't have that many cards in it, which is great.
Definitely.
One autograph, 3 silver prisms, 3 choice prisms per box on average. You got your jewels, you got your various little, choice patterns. And then you have Breakaway, which is out on the 23rd of May.
Right.
And that includes no guaranteed autograph, 3 silver prisms, 8 Breakaway prisms, and 6 inserts. This is your sales sheet for Breakaway. A Lotus Flower parallel.
Oh.
Color blasts, flashbacks. And you can get your Breakaway autos as well. But I want to start off with a question about Premier League Prizm in light of Panini losing the Premier League license. Do you think that if Panini had worked out a more user-friendly way of describing choice and Breakaway, like how Topps have Breaker's Delight and Jumbo, if they come up with like words that actually meant something to people in the context of what the box might be, that they would have been more successful? Because I feel like these product SKUs, choice and Breakaway, are coming and going without me ever really getting a grasp on what they were supposed to be or which market they were supposed to serve.
Yeah, I don't like the naming of them. Like Breakaway sounds like it's for breakers, but then you're showing me there's no auto in it, etc. It's kind of like I get confused by it all the time. Choice, yeah. I know about the Nebula choices. It's easier, smaller. You open it, you still get your auto. I kind of understand choice, but why is it called that? I agree with you.
Why is it called choice? Yeah.
Better formatting in general and better just creation of the Premier League Prizm product would have been welcomed throughout the last 4 or 5 years.
Definitely.
Again, we've said it before. We've said it many a time, and people have, I think, joined us in it. Is that although it's sad to see Panini losing many licenses, they definitely, in terms of Premier League, didn't do enough with it for anyone to really mourn the loss of it.
Yeah, the fact that, as I say, choice and Breakaway are still sort of meaningless terms to people. Like you're still kind of describing, you're learning every time what exactly is in what box. I mean, I know there are some people out there listening who are not learning every time and who do know Prizm and all that stuff. But certainly, like I've found, explaining the hobby to people, a Topps sort of the Topps language is much more easily explained than the Panini language. So even like the switch from T-Mall to international, and it's just like, what does any of this mean? But that being said, I actually went and looked at Hobby. Hobby is still available for $250 a box on PaniniAmerica.net in the States. And so I looked at how expensive are all the other years of Premier League Prizm in the States, and what are they available at? So at the moment, 24-25 is still $250 on, and I think it's cheaper on eBay in the States as well, but it's $250 on Panini's website. Last year's you can get for $210. So that's beneath what they're selling it this year's for. The year before that, 22-23, you can get for $200. The year before that, 21-22, Hobby you can get for $170. 2020-21, Jude class, you can get for $220. And then first year Prizm, you can get for $630. But basically, between 2021 and 2024, $220 was the max of any of those boxes that you can, like, what does that say about Panini Premier League Hobby? That it hasn't been a success.
Yeah. And that they're still pricing it above where it should be.
Yeah, like, and what is the, like, in 3 years' time or something, like, I don't think everything is going to rise to the level of that first year Prizm. I think we're kind of, I'm not sure we'll ever see a 3 in front of any of those. In terms of like the cheapest you can get. I don't mean like you can't, like, people will be paying more than that. People pay more for breaks, they pay more for release. Like, it just seems these are always going to be available at bargain basement prices, and that's not That's not good.
You know, I think there's a lot to be said that Prizm hobby, apart from first year, which obviously is first year, and that's where it has its premium, and it was shorter print in first year. The fact that no other year has, I would imagine every one of them is below their original retail price as well.
Almost definitely, yeah, because they all came out.
I just don't know what. Well, I don't know 2020 what it came out. I can't remember, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it was all boom times. In fairness, but yeah, none of them have appreciated in price, and that's not just down to a rookie didn't pop up with it, because like Garnacho, that the year with Garnacho and Julian Alvarez, great rookies, whatever, and there has been a few, nothing crazy, nothing Yamal level. Most of the big rookies have come from different leagues or Champions League product, but it's like, yeah, you have a product that isn't rookie dependent, and a league license that's not rookie dependent. It doesn't mean you can't create a product that increases in price.
Yeah, and I feel like through those years, there's been all sorts of. They've included and excluded various case hits, various parallels. Like there's, there have been lots and lots of individual nice cards in those years, but it hasn't seemed to make a difference. No matter what they put in or take away, I still feel like I'm not exactly sure what I'm buying Prizm hobby for. And maybe that's because in soccer, there aren't enough players whose market, whose gold Prizm market is actually, hot enough to if you get a gold Prizm, I suppose in most, in NFL or NBA, the idea is that actually means a lot. But you see at card shows and stuff, there are Premier League gold Prizms that are not really meaningful to anybody. So this never really happened.
It just never took off, I would say.
It just never took off. Exactly, yeah.
It just didn't take off.
I've got here some of the performances of some of the case hits and SPs from this year. Starting off with Manga, which, according to our friend Soccer Cards HQ, is the only one that is basically always a case hit, and has a print run Manga of at least 150 mangas per subject.
Okay.
And I recommend Soccer Cards HQ's Prizm Review. And I was struggling with the temptation to just include basically the bulk of his entire review because it was very compelling. But so I recommend, if you like to read reviews, go and read that. Let's have a look at Manga here. I like the designs.
Yep.
That David Beckham one is very popular. And we go to sales, we can see how they're doing. So bear in mind, you can get the box for $250, and this is a case hit. So there's a Cole Palmer Cold celebration, $800, $550 for a Karen Mitoma. And again, you will see if you go to other mangas, it's unlikely these prices will be where they are now in a year's time. Same way the box probably won't be where it is now. Thoughts on these mangas? Do you like these designs?
Yeah, definitely. They look very different to the other mangas. This year's design, I like it.
Yeah, I feel even this Eze one, including the celebration, same way the Cole Palmer one, this is
yeah, it's where was this?
Where was this energy? This is great. This is exactly what I want. This is because I always felt the Premier League Prizm never really was related in any way to the Premier League. The Premier League as a league or as a product or as a sport. I would, watch Match of the Day, experience Premier League, and then go to Premier League Prizm. You don't really feel there's any crossover between those two things. But now we're seeing this, and it's where's this level of character or this level of interest? It's kind of it's a disappointment, really. What could have been?
But what could be, this could be a very easy win when the license swaps hands.
This is true. Yeah, maybe these are the elements that they at tops, they're kind of licking their lips going, yeah, just include some of the actual footballing culture itself, and you're onto a big winner. Then we have our Color Blasts, which are, I think, the rarest one, but don't hold me to that. They're white Color Blasts. They're horizontal Color Blasts. Ideal Color Blast, white, black, horizontal, vertical. What's your ideal?
Horizontal, white, but I hate the way that even
horizontal white. This is your best case scenario for Color Blast.
But what I'm saying is why are the images just Haaland walking around the pitch or making a pass?
Yeah,
that's what, again, it just doesn't make. Obviously, they're limited by their photography, but get out. There
are probably photographs of Erling Haaland doing something more interesting than that.
Kicking a ball, taking a shot, celebrating a goal. Not just.
I mean, we've seen it. I think or have we seen it? Have we just wanted to see it? He has kind of iconic. he has a certain way that he shoots. He has certain goals that he scores. Not the color blast has to be like kaboom style imagery, but we see in the manga that there's stuff you can do.
There's stuff you can do. Yeah. We as fans of the Premier League, I would say, and as just soccer card fans, we are Soccer Cards United, by the way. It's just disappointing that the sport is almost left off.
Yeah.
Almost always. I think there's very few soccer cards I've ever seen in my life that have a goal net in it. I don't mean like a piece of it cut out, but like there's no action shots.
Yes.
Why is there not Haaland? It doesn't have to be color blast. Why is there not like him kicking a ball and we see it hit the net and he's in the background or whatever? Do you know what I mean? The goal, like in basketball, you see the basket in a lot of cards. People are doing their slam dunks and the like.
Good use of basketball terminology there, by the way.
There you go. I do my best.
Yeah,
but like it just doesn't make sense. Like even like a player standing up for a penalty, you know what I mean? You can definitely get a shot of them from the back where you see their name, you see the goal. You don't even need to see the goalkeeper. Like the players cover that, whatever. But just
well, there was that famous example.
Where's the Premier League ball? Why is the Premier League ball not part of Premier League Prizm? Surely that's because they have their own ball. Surely that's part of licensing. Maybe. I don't know.
There was the famous example of Fulham in Premier League Prizm conceding a free kick on a Fulham card, which was like maybe they had this thought, they tried it, and then everyone was like, "Nah, this is so ridiculous." Then they just got scared and they were like, "We don't have time to triple check all of these." So who can keep up with are they conceding a goal and they scoring a goal? Who even knows about this sport? It's so complicated. And then finally, Prismania, which is a new addition to soccer. These are doing very well, I think, on the secondary market. There's a Saka Prismania for $425, a Kobe Mania for $300. So you get the price of a box back if you get this rarer than case hit card.
It's nice, but like,
it's exciting.
I mean, jokingly as that is, like, if with all due respect, if these were tops case hits, you'd be lucky to get a pack back in terms of value. You know,
this is true. Yeah,
Panini case hits for whatever reason perform very, 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 very well.
Yeah. And actually what's exciting about this is these are the only Premier League Prismanias ever.
Yeah.
Or at least for a long time to come. So
that's right. Never say never.
Never say never. So for those eagle-eyed flippers out there, you might have a little opportunity. I don't know. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. So yeah, that is some stuff about Premier League. Prizm also point out that the Prizm Flashbacks design this year is flashing back to 2014, which again, a bit like Topps Finest Flashbacks Soccer, which flashed back to 1994 baseball, basketball finest at one point. It's like there was no Premier League Prizm in 2014, but that's not the rule. These have parallels, and 2014 was a full bleed design, so the parallels are full bleed. There you go. Look at that. You can see here. This Gabriel Jesus. Look at that.
That's unreal.
That is incredible stuff.
Makes me feel like we did have a 2014.
Yeah, you look at that and you go, "Oh, take me back." So full bleed is what people are always saying they want, and Panini are saying we're giving it to you. Go and get it
in little bits.
Just to compare that to, for example, last year's Prizm, which was a flashback to 2012, the parallels, when you see these parallels, they are nothing. They are absolutely nothing compared to these new ones. Have a look at that. This was not a full bleed design. Just in case anyone was wondering what on earth I was talking about.
Not the best, but that's still nice. That's very Prizm.
Oh, it's good, but I'm saying this is a little added bonus this year is that there are full bleed Prizm flashback parallels. And I will say that the lack of energy that we have talking about Premier League Prizm, I feel, is indicative of the overall feeling around Premier League Prizm. People are talking about there's not a lot of buzz around it this year. I've never experienced any buzz around Premier League Prizm.
Yeah, and it released at a very good time this year because there's no real sets in the market, and it still was like, people are just like, there's nothing to break, there's nothing to open. It's like, no, Premier League Prizm just came out.
Yeah, maybe it is the fact that like the UK is obviously the home of the Premier League, and it doesn't dominate the hobby in general. Like, so, you know, you have to get up very early in the morning to watch the Premier League in the United States.
That's
in
fair.
Germany, they're interested in the Bundesliga, etc.
The Germans do a much better job at buying, ripping, collecting Bundesliga product than the UK folks do with Premier League.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, like, maybe it's that it's more accessible. I do think, whether it be Panini or whether it be Topps, they price the Premier League they almost like they kind of believe what the Premier League tell them. The Premier League tell them we are the biggest league in the world. We have all this.
Their license that way, to be fair.
Yeah, Premier League says, look, if you want to buy this, you got to pay a premium because we are the Premier League. And so the companies then turn to us and go, if you want to buy this hobby box, you're going to have to pay a premium to the Premier League. And then the collectors go, I think I'll just wait.
Yeah, this is not, this ain't it.
Yeah, because I suppose how could you be excited to buy in when you look at the price of hobby boxes apart from first year and you go, why would I buy it now? I'd be throwing money away.
Yeah, why get involved? Like what? Yeah, but then those 101s still perform. You know, Prizm is Prizm, Jason. We can't forget that.
No, it's true.
Think, I just don't think the formula was never hit. They really should have made it more short print. Maybe they shouldn't have done a choice on a breakaway. That way there wasn't kind of multiple 101s and multiple confusions and whatever the formula needed. And I don't necessarily think 5 major releases is the answer to that, by the way.
Yeah, if you're saying Panini should have shortened the print run and Topps are saying, well, we're going to do 5 different brands.
Pristine
then
Premier League. Jeez.
That doesn't sound like a recipe for success, no matter how much you improve the product.
Yeah, no. I was seeing, like, I think Pristine Euro came out at like $400, $500 or something, or $700, something crazy. Like, I try to remember why we all despised it, apart from the fact that it was terrible. It's like, it was priced crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's what, Pristine, it's that thing of like, you can't, like, Panini are not going to come out with Impeccable at a super low price. Like, Impeccable is the brand, the price is the price. So like Premier League Prizm, Premier League Pristine, before anyone even thinks, the minimum price would be 300 and it's probably going to be 400 or 500. And it's like, thoughts of that is just like horrifying.
Yeah. But I think between last week we were talking about the Premier League license, the plans that Topps have for it, and now this week we're talking about Premier League Prizm. Overall, I think there is just like the Premier League is almost like the problem child of the soccer card world. People just don't know what to do with it. It's
not necessarily the manufacturers. I think it's just the Premier League has become so commercial and so big, but the league itself is lackluster, and it's like that can't be, can't be figured out.
Well, I think as well part of the problem is that the top teams are all represented in Europe, and now that they've changed the rules, so that they're going to have even more teams. Like, you're looking at maybe having 7 Premier League teams in Europe in the Topps UCC products next year. So 7 of the 20, and then you have Premier League as well. And it's like, for the other 13 teams, they need 5 products. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it's not great. But it's not great. We can only kind of roll with the punches. We're going to have Select coming out before long as well. Yep. Impeccable again. Again, like, why did they not throw a new brand in toward, like, why did they keep it to their tried and trusted? Well, we thought maybe they would. Select every year. I'm going to give you a Prizm every year. I'm going to give you Impeccable every year. And it's like, right, but Select never, like, these never perform well. Give me a Noir Premier League, and yeah, it might not perform well, but we'll be excited for a few weeks. Yeah, give me something. Give me something exciting. We're looking for hope here. We're looking for hope. I don't want to be looking at the schedule going, right, Select is going to come up. It'll be, a lot of base napkin hits in there as one of your 3 hits, and if I see kind of picture a little red square again, I'm going to lose my mind. An Erling Haaland patch with a bit of light blue, with a bit of dark blue running through it. It's like, now obviously we sound jaded, and there are good hits in these products. That's right. There's some stuff in this conversation that's going to come up later in an interesting way on the show. But I think in general, the Premier League has an overinflated view of itself, and the manufacturers have an overinflated view of it, and that view is not shared by the kind of global soccer card market, who feel generally more or less as if they're covered by the UEFA and FIFA licenses. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think all of the data, figures, facts about the Premier League hold true in terms of the fan base, in terms of the viewership, in terms of everything, the revenue. Yeah, but like, I don't know. Are we witnessing the decline of the Premier League, Jason? Are we witnessing at a ground root, and that there's other problems in that league that could be kind of exposed over the next while? Because I do think
I do think ultimately Panini and or Tops have had to buy that license at a price that has been crazy, and then that has to get passed down.
Yeah.
But it's hard to know. I don't know. Especially, and we mustn't forget, Tops are also covering the majority of the Premier League teams with team set licenses.
Yep.
We have an abundance of Liverpool. We have an abundance of Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City. We're going to have Man United. It's going to be abundant. Like, once you have all of that, then you're devaluing the Premier League license, the appeal of it. You have them covered in Europe.
The teams you're getting are the teams that are already in UEFA.
That's what I'm saying. So you have, they're triple covered.
Yeah.
So how do you make the Premier League special? But that's we're gonna just, as a soccer card community, as a hobby community, we're just gonna have to sit back and see what Fanatics do. Can they solve that problem? Because if it can be solved, you have a really strong license. People shouldn't be. We should be all excited that Premier League Prizm just came out, and we should all be opening it and having a great time. Going, what a release! This is incredible. We're having fun. There hasn't been a proper soccer release in a while. We're a week away or so from Chrome. This is brilliant. It has 1 or 2 weeks to breathe, and we're all having a great time. But that's not really what I've seen on the timeline.
Yeah. Now, presumably that is happening in some quarters. Some people are having that.
Definitely. I mean, we're going to be at the London Card Show this weekend, and we're going to bring some Prizm with us. We have some here as well. We're going to bring some with us, and just kind of see what the temperature is. Because my experience at London Card Shows and card shows in general is kind of, people look at Prizm and kind of go, yeah.
Yeah, I think that, there are some singles, a bit like what happens with Donruss, where it's like the Premier League Prizm, it's like it's so many cards, there's so much of it. It's like some of the singles are incredible, but in general, you can't really get excited about a box that includes so much stuff that you don't want.
Maybe that's it. In fairness, I think same with Donruss. I mean, I'm not sure about Prizm, but Donruss used to be a much cheaper set. So it would have been like a perfect starter set for a kid. There you go, $100, $120. Open that and have a bit of fun. But look, I think we're a little bit jaded, but I think it's more so it's a reflection on what we've seen. Maybe we're in a little corner of what we're seeing, Jason, but Prizm came out and that was it. Immediately people didn't care. That's how I kind of felt. Apart from some of the things that people were excited to see, the Prismanias and the case hit images and stuff like that. But like for me, I look at the color blasts and I'm just like, ugh, why is that not an image that we can all be excited about? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the year where the color blast looks deadly. Like, do you know what I mean? That should be a thing.
I also think that Premier League Prizm and in general, I think Panini have, this is like, I think all of the marketing that Tops have been doing on their side in terms of like getting athletes involved and kind of like tying in the cards to a wider culture of sports. I think like when you look at Premier League Prizm coming out now after 18 months of this kind of like new top style of product integration with the marketing, etc., right? It really highlights how
different
divorced Panini Prizm or Panini, it's like Panini America's Premier League license is from the Premier League as it is understood in England, in Europe in general. Like it just doesn't feel like connected to anything. And that's like they're just getting it now, but it's like the fact that it took this happening to get it is the problem. It's too little, too late.
Even the fact, like, how is there no on-card autos in Prizm, for example? How have you never once, in 5 years, how many years? 6 years of having the Premier League license, how have you not once sat down with any of the Premier League players and got them to sign a Prizm card in person and go like, this is Prizm, this is a big deal, this is class?
But the thing is, right, it's and this you've hit on a big point there, because whenever you say something like that about Prizm, the purists will tell you Prizm is not about the autographs. That's fine. But Panini have had 5 years to explain to us what Prizm is about, and they haven't done that. It's like, it's never them telling you Prizm isn't about the autographs. It's never them with like a Premier League player saying, explain. It's never like sort of like Bruno Fernandes getting excited because he hit his own goal power or something. It's always just like anything you say, someone tells you that that's not what Prizm is about. That's not what Prizm is about. That's not what Prizm is about. It's like, what is it about? What exactly am I looking for here? Because I host a soccer podcast and I haven't got an idea.
But it's about getting those black Prizms and the gold Prizms, Jason.
Yeah, I suppose there's just no collector base for a lot of the black and gold Prizms that are coming out of the boxes.
But that's the collector's fault, Jason. That's what you forget.
Yeah, there are some clubs that do a good job, and then there are some clubs that don't do a good job.
Yeah,
I'll tell you this, right? And this may be proven wrong in the course of time, but I feel from my anecdotal evidence that collectors of teams who have spent 1 or 2 years in the Premier League and therefore only covered by 1 or 2 years. And I say this as an Ireland national team collector, so this is ground that I'm comfortable on.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, you know, an Ipswich fan or a Luton fan. Luton's a perfect example. Surely all the Luton cards, like surely that should be exciting and that should be collectible and that should be like you cannot hit a like gold Luton card without one of the Luton collectors kind of attacking you and scrambling for it and getting it. Like, but it doesn't even seem that they've been able to inspire excitement among people who don't even have an abundance of cards. Now, is that because they don't want them? Because I don't know what that is. Like, but like, how do you like? I suppose Frosinone is the perfect example. Why is it not? Why do people who support Luton, maybe they do, they can write in, people who support Luton not feel about Premier League Prizm Luton cards the way you feel about Panini Select Serie A Frosinone cards?
Yeah, I don't know, because I think I suppose you'd have to ask the question of like how many Luton fans know about the hobby. Period. You know what I mean? Because like I was in the hobby, and then that's why like for me, a black select Frosinone is the coolest thing ever because I kind of have a conceptual understanding of the hierarchy of what's being chased, etc., etc. But I would say that there's a high chance because the UK is so much more underdeveloped as well. Like obviously we're in Ireland, but like I'm in the hobby. I'm in a special case. Most of Ireland don't know anything about black selected. So you've been able to put together your PC, Jason, with relative ease over the last few years. I just think it's that. It's like maybe it was just bad timing. Maybe Topps could have success with the Premier League just because of the marketing they've done to date and how it's growing at the moment.
Yeah.
Their shop in London could actually help them sell Premier League product to everyone because people are going to get more comfortable with cards, etc., etc. I don't know. I suppose it comes down to like a lack of marketing. Why have you not been marketing for the last decade?
Yeah, it's almost like when Luton go up into the Premier League, somebody from Panini should appear at Luton and say, welcome to the Premier League. One of the benefits you have now unlocked is that we are going to be producing for the first time ever autographed on Optichrome technology Prizm cards. Here's what that is. Let's get excited about it. And please feel free to fold these cards into your journey over the course of the season. But they're expected to just find it on their own, and it never worked. So I suppose what I'm saying is hobby education is important, and that's an original thought that I've just had now.
There you go, Jason. You've done it. No one has said that before. But yeah, I don't know. Look, hopefully people keep enjoying Prizm. Hopefully Select is fun. Hopefully people have a good time. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Chrome hits next week, because Chrome, I felt last year had a huge print run. This year it's up again. There's no Lamine Yamal, even though there kind of is being thrown in there.
Yep.
And Hendrick, etc., etc. It's I'm very fascinated to see what happens with Topps Chrome. Like, how is it received? How does it look? And will Topps Chrome be like a perfect rollout for what Premier League might look like in terms of if it'll be a success or not a success? Well,
I suppose the question about Prizm and the lack of buzz around its release is like, even the fact that like we're covering it now for the sense of completion, but like it wasn't as if we haven't been like getting loads of questions about it, or like it's not like, you know. Anyway, if Chrome comes and goes with a similar lack of fanfare, which I don't think Topps will allow it to do, is the difference. What happens then? Like, are we in a unenthusiastic market, or what's going on?
I don't know. So I was going to say as well, I think Topps did a better job at getting product into European hands than Panini did. So like, it was hard enough throughout the last 5 years. It's been hard enough to get cases of Premier League Prizm in the UK.
Yeah.
So it's like, how are you're not building up people with momentum to?
This is true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. If a Luton fan said, I will actually sort of like as if there's a Luton whale out there who says, I actually will just buy loads of cases and I will get all of the one-on-ones. It's like, well, I don't know. You're going to have to build up your allocation to get some cases, because, you know.
You're going to have to go to the United States to buy the boxes off the good folks over there. But look, I don't know. I didn't see the docket race before we started, but yeah, I'm almost disappointed with our lack of enthusiasm towards Premier League Prizm. It is fresh out the gate. I do have some boxes downstairs. I might open one for YouTube. I don't know if I have 25 minutes to spare.
Okay. I hope, and I think what's going to happen is that we're all going to feel very nostalgic about Premier League Prizm when we're on our 15th release of the
season.
season.
Yeah, we might, like, to be honest, because as a hobby business, I'll say this, Jason, as a hobby business, Premier League has been a fine product to kind of have. Like, it comes out, you never make too much money on it, but you're never really stuck with it on the shelf. It comes, it goes, you sell it. No fanfare, not much profit. It's not the best time you're gonna have, but it's fine. I don't want that to turn into a product that I don't necessarily want that to turn into a product where you're kind of like, okay, I need a team of people to figure out how to sell this, because if we don't, we're in big trouble.
You don't have to like set up phone banks to try and like, ring around and try and move all these Premier League boxes. But then I'm sure there are people out there who are saying, hey, give it to me, I'll buy it.
Yeah,
I know exactly what to do with it.
Yeah, I always make profit. Like, it's good. Like, I suppose we're a little bit concerned. I suppose we're a little bit disappointed of Premier League Prizm, mainly because that is as close as we have to a product that's good for the Irish market. So many people here support soccer. So many people are Premier League clubs, and it's like, it was never really accessible for most of them. Do you know what I mean? Because it was $300 with no real hit value in there. They had megas and blasters, but most of the time you're just explaining to people that no, you're not guaranteed an autograph in those products. And yes, they're $60. Yeah. I'm sorry about it. It is what it is. You might hit something maybe, but probably not. And then like the other configs, But yeah, I don't know. I think this conversation can't be completed until we see a full year of Topps Premier League. Because we might all, everyone across the board in the hobby might be like, oh damn, it used to be better,
Yeah. Or I'll also say, just
this is how you do it
on Premier League Prizm. We're going to get off Premier League Prizm in just a minute, but it's important to say that NFL Prizm and NBA Prizm are $1,000 boxes most years.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about this $250 box hasn't moved up in price, but that is like, if you're Panini, I'm sure you're going like, right, we have Prizm, which is a foolproof brand that everybody loves. And now we have the Premier League, which we've been told is the greatest league in the world. And we can't even get it to a quarter of the price of the other ones most of the time.
Yeah.
What's going on?
And it could be a league issue. Like, it could be how you handled it, but I do think it could be a league issue. But then maybe it's not here's the thing. It could just be a hobby issue.
I think it is a hobby issue, yeah.
There's no collectors going mad for it. And if there was, they would be $1,000 boxes and they'd be worth chasing. But it's not the case. Because like, if you hit a Black Prizm Steph Curry this year out of this year's Prizm, he's not a rookie, but I'm pretty sure that's going to demand a big premium. So it's like, why are people not chasing Mo Salah? I know they are chasing it, but why is Mo Salah's Black 101 not causing these boxes to be ripped through left, right, and center?
Yeah, it's that thing. It's that thing of, you just said, of like, they are chasing it, and it's like, it is that thing of, in soccer, yes, I understand that we're spending a lot of money, but we're just smaller. Like, the numbers are not like what is considered a whale in soccer is not anywhere near it. So we lack capital in soccer.
Yeah. Wow. It's been said. We're small fishes in small ponds.
So that's disappointing.
That might be the answer, but that might be it. It might be, because as you said, it's like Panini have perfectly cracked the code of Prizm, and they've found ways.
Prizm, like, we're sitting here complaining about Prizm. If you're in Panini, you're listening to this going, what do you mean? Panini Prizm is
one of the greatest brands. The Prizm brand is worth more than the Panini brand right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I don't know. But it is, yeah. But in fairness, Jason, maybe years go by and eventually the collector base grows in soccer, and then eventually all the Prizm boxes is what you're saying. I don't know if any of them will go to 300. Maybe all of them, people start looking, going, I want to chase my Premier League Black Prizm.
Yeah.
I think
maybe that becomes almost like a PMG's kind of situation. Ooh. Like, this is like
who knows? But then maybe the Panini Prizm brand but loses a lot of its appeal when they're no longer making basketball cards and NFL cards. So
that's the big question. Yeah, do people look back, or do they just look forward?
If you're going to start Prizming the Rolling Stones and Prizming PFL and Prizming Live Golf, then you might dilute and water down the Prizm brand. And as the next decade is spent with super factors making huge headlines, people might not be looking for Black Prizms. Obviously, there will always be a core group of people that are going to be telling everyone, it never used to be like this. This is the way I do it. But in 10 years' time, I might be like, I'm looking for a Salah 101 super factor. I don't know nothing about this Black Prizm. Yeah. For me, black is the 10. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the black parallel we need to get rid of. No matter who the manufacturer is, it doesn't work. It's not.
It works in Panini Prizm. It does, absolutely. It does.
No, I don't think it works.
It's not great. I mean, gold vinyl. Well, listen.
Yeah. Jason, any other color is better than black. Black is just the absent. It doesn't matter, right? Let's take a break and come back to talk about the now confirmed Champions League finalists. Enzo, we are back, and the Champions League final is now set for the 2024-25 season. We have Internazionale di Milano versus Paris Saint-Germain, or as their marketing departments want to be referred to, Inter versus Paris. PSG or Milan is just Paris from now on. So if we could all help them out on that, I'm sure they'd appreciate it. I was looking at who might be like some hobby standouts. Obviously, Lamine Yamal, we were all hoping for the hobby would go to the Champions League final, complete the treble, etc., etc. That didn't happen. So who is the hobby looking out for? Obviously, Inter is a tough sell because in their Inter's second leg starting 11 against who do they play? Barca. Their average starting 11 age was 30.
Right.
So they're all old, so their hobby prospects are not great. PSG's average starting age in the second leg against Arsenal was 24, so they're very much in their hobby prime. Just to start off with a couple of Inter players who you might think are going to become collectible or are collectible, or if you were an Inter fan who you want to collect, little Lautaro Martinez, who has an incredible list of honours, accolades, trophies, and could be about to add the Champions League. In which case, I think he's won everything. His rookie is a sticker, but that's not why I want to show it to you. I want to show it to you for a secondary reason. This is Lautaro Martinez's rookie sticker from 2017 for Racing in Argentina, right? And this is on Fanatics Collect from 2023.
Oh my God.
What's that?
Pop 7.
But look at this. You click on it. You can zoom in.
Wow.
Yeah. When did Fanatics Collect this functionality?
Come on. But the zoom on hover is what we're waiting on, though. Let's be honest. But that's
I know, but even
we can't keep waiting.
I can pan and scan.
This is pretty good.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Look, his height's 1.75 meters. He's getting shorter.
What's that in feet? Do we know?
No.
So that is his rookie. But anyway, I was just trying to think what else would be collectible if you're a Lautaro Martinez collector.
$200, despite the fact that it's pop 1 of 7. Now, obviously, I'm sure the pop could go higher if people bother grading it. I don't think it's impossible to find that sticker, etc., etc. But still, that's a low price for that. But again,
and that was from 2023. That sale.
Wow.
So one thing I wanted to do with these players was to look at their highest sales according to the extremely scientific 130 point, and see how many of them are recent.
Okay.
That should give us an idea as to what their market is like. Sorry, I'm way zoomed out.
I'm gonna on the fly, if I'm allowed, I'm gonna log into Card Ladder to see if they have any insight.
You can log into Card Ladder. I'll tell you, a lot of these players are not covered in great detail on Card Ladder. They're not trading with such frequency in the United States that they're...
No, but I think, give me a name. Are you starting with Martinez?
Lautaro Martinez, yeah.
Okay.
While you're doing that, I'll just tell people that on Monday, the 28th of April, so just a few days ago, his 23-24 Topps Chrome Super Refractor autograph did $2,500, which I think is extremely respectable.
Do you have that down as one of his highest recent sales or no?
I have that down as his highest sale that I can see.
That's why you're gonna partake in Card Ladder, Jason. Yeah, way off. I'll educate you off podcast about this, Jason.
I was on Card Ladder earlier. I didn't find it useful for this exercise.
Oh, but I found a Lautaro Martinez. Now I don't know if it counts because it's a Lionel Messi dual auto of $3,800.
Right.
A Dynasty 1 of 1, $2,600.
Yeah. When was that Dynasty sale?
16th of October 24.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I do see a Martinez Obsidian 1 of 1 that did €2,400, which seems wrong. That seems like, But yeah, Inter fans are buying Lautaro Martinez, particularly 1 of 1s.
Yes, there are high-end collectors out there. I see a jumbo patch Prizm back in April as well for $500. So this Champions League run is making a difference to the Lautaro Martinez's market. But it's one of those things where it's like he is. If you're the top Inter collector, you can just buy his 1 of 1s. I don't think there's a lot of people buying his off 5s and his off 10s. It's kind of like Nicolo Barella is a similar one. Obviously collectible, but obviously Italian national team hero.
Listen.
But his market is similarly good, but not great, I would say. Lautaro Martinez also has the benefit of being a World Cup winner, a Copa America winner.
I found a really cool sale here, Jason. Right in 2023, a 1/1 Barella Black Prizm sold, and the reason that's cool is there's obviously no Prizm Serie A, but that would have popped up from Chronicles. It only did €460, but that's a really cool card.
Yes. So like the Inter stuff is like there are collectors out there, but they're not necessarily buying everything. They get to be extremely selective as to what they buy. Which is funny when you consider like Inter as a team, and then it's basically it's a similar problem to what we're talking about in a lot of the Premier League. And then you talk about the Serie A license, and it's like Inter are like, there are 4 top teams, and Inter are one of them. Inter fans would say there's one top team, and they're the one.
Not even the biggest team in Milan, by the way.
Yeah, but so much more interesting is the PSG side of things.
Certainly.
Enzo, you go on Card Ladder there.
Okay.
And you tell me what you can find about Ousmane Dembele.
Probably a lot of things you bought back in the day, a few selects.
Ousmane Dembele is a really interesting one because he has a 2016-17 sticker at WCCF, but 2018 is his first hobby year. He has treble for Barcelona, and he has a 2018 Prizm World Cup. And I really do think that card has a lot of room to go up in value if he wins the Champions League with PSG.
Can you guess what a PSA 9 of that card sold for gold World Cup Prizm back in 2022?
2022 PSA 9 gold World Cup. Did that do $1,500?
Yeah. Bang on. Yeah, quite literally. Oh, Jason, was that you? Did you own that card?
I did not own that card. That's people.
I'm not sure.
Off the dome. I just knew. I could just guess.
Yeah, there's not a lot of cards here.
His PSA 10s, his silver PSA 10s from 2018 Prizm are now up to about $90 to $100 a card, up from about half that earlier in the early part of this year. So his performances are making a difference. But it's slow going. There's also Kavica Kvaratskhelia, another hobby name, who has a limited set of rookies, all from 22-23, all from Serie A, Chronicles, Select, and Score as well. Let's not forget Score. He also has a Russian Premier League 2019 sticker, but the Selects in the Napoli kit are the main ones, and they've seen a bit of a bump as well. If I show you this. A couple of sales. I can't spell his name off the top of my head. I'm not like that.
These are some tough names. There's no denying it.
They are tough names. If I just show you this, you look at this, right? This 130-point page, and you see that his highest sale that I can see here, just this is not necessarily his all-time highest sale, but 2023 was definitely a peak for him when he was doing all the madness with Napoli. But then 2025 appears very, very quickly. So there's basically nothing in his highest sales from his second season at Napoli,
right?
Which is quite interesting. Like,
yeah,
I wish there was a
rookie mania hit him hard, and then everyone said, "Oh, it doesn't matter." And he moved to PSG, and it has obviously worked in his favor moving to PSG because people are following. I have some sales on him, Jason, from 2023. $5,000 on a gold select. $4,500 on a 101 Origins, which is also.
Sorry, did you say $5,000 on a gold select?
Yeah.
Is that a PSA 10?
No, it's raw.
I have a raw gold select here in February 2025 for $400.
Whoa.
So that is a massive drop off in 2 years, and he's climbing now, but he has a long, long way to climb.
But like, he's obviously, a fantastic player, but like, one of the reasons his price was so high wasn't even about how good he was. It was more so the novelty he had, which I don't think people fully understood. The novelty that he just didn't have. He wasn't in it in a load of product.
super low print run. Yeah.
Yeah, it was going to be a super low print run rookie, which is what excited everyone more so than this guy is the most talented player ever. He's obviously fantastically talented and did madness.
Yeah.
But it was the mix of that. And I think when people bought him at a very inflated price because of that, and then they immediately were like, hold on, he's not the greatest player of all time. I bought this too much, and they start selling it. But it's like, it is that thing of, if he goes on and has a few years of craziness, then when it's time for a rookie price to move, there's not a lot of rookies that can move. You know, that's why.
Yeah.
He's interesting.
I think
an interesting case, a rare case, especially from 23 onwards in the soccer hobby, someone that has like 1 or 2, 3 sets.
Absolutely.
Only one manufacturer. It's because like most of the time it's like, if there's a huge Serie A rookie, he'll be covered in the Champions League license. But this was like a complete kind of monopoly. Not monopoly. This was Greece anomaly. This was an anomaly. Panini had a monopoly on Kivica Kvaratskhelia. And I'm not even sure if they were in Champions League that year, but if they were, I know that Topps were not able to use Napoli for a while. There was some licensing things.
Yeah. So like that pattern we see actually a lot of, like rookie mania over a player, or people just like backing him because he's a rookie. And I have Bradley Barcola on this list as well, and he is one that I remember being at the National and stuff last year, and he was a soccer name that's been passed around, partially because there is just like, we've inherited this from the American sports of who are the rookies this year. Let's pick one. One must be good because they're, you know, we're getting this a bit. Actually, I would say in 24-25, the class has that as well. It has to be Endrick. It has to be Mikey Moore. It has to be, you know, there has to be somebody. But a much more exciting way of doing it than, say, the Bradley Barcola model is the Desiree Doue model, because he had his rookie in 22-23 for Rennes and has worked his way up. And if you look at these sales here for Desiree Doue, April 2025, April 2025, April 2025. He's like actually like now after 3 years, having a kind of a standout moment coming to the fore. He must have been about 13 when he had the rookie card, by the way. But like, this is a much more sustainable way. You could have spent money on Desiree Doue, and it would have been a lot of money at the time before he was playing for PSG and all that. But this is actual, genuine, a graph going up from left to right in a sort of a healthy way. This is what you need, I think. This is actual prospecting.
Yeah, no. But again, prospecting is a person picking up them for cheap last year or the year before. Making a play on Desiree Doue and now cashing in and or holding too long. And
I think this is like, yeah, of course, this is a good selling window, we call this. But what I was going to say was, I think there is like there's too much focus on. Maybe we've gotten confused as to what prospecting is, because soccer is such a weird sport and doesn't really transpose perfectly onto the model. But like, prospecting is not just getting your hands on any of the cards of the rookie that's hot in the year he's a rookie. That's not prospecting. That's just kind of speculation. Prospecting is seeing somebody who's undervalued and saying in future, he will, when he's in his prime, he will be a top player, and his rookie will mean something. It's not just like, he's really good now when he's 17. He's always going to be good. Therefore, I want the cards because they're only going up. Because people get burned more often than not doing that. See Kivica Kvaratskhelia or whoever it may be. So something for us all to
ponder on, especially as we have so many sets with so many rookies, kind of premature rookies, that it's like, right, let's look backwards and go, is there anyone that, you know, has been kind of left behind and forgotten about that actually might have their day, you know?
I mean, Cole Palmer, another great example of that. Like, it's like, he comes out, nobody cares while he's still at Man City. You could have been buying up all sorts of, and for a long time, you could buy him for a long time when he was kind of starting to kick off for Chelsea. And it's like, well, is this a blip, or is this actually going to turn into a consistency, to a level of consistency? And I think too often we just kind of automatically reset at the start of a season and say, right, who are the rookies? Let's do this. I'm ready to be hurt again. Instead of actually stopping, looking back at what are the models for a player's prices, and seeing that in the majority of cases, you're better off taking low, like, there are opportunities for low risk, high reward.
Yeah.
Whereas people prefer
high risk, low reward.
High risk, low reward. Yeah. Like, what is obviously Lamine Yamal is the ideal person who is like, if I could just hit a Lamine Yamal card, that's more of I'm a millionaire. Okay. out of interest, I had a look at the two managers for the upcoming Champions League final, Luis Enrique and Simone Inzaghi. What their market is like. You won't be surprised to hear, Enzo, that Simone's brother, Pippo, has an incredible hobby market. He himself does not. He has no licensed autographs as far as I can see. He does have this cool 2000 Panini Calcio patch card.
That is cool.
Which is a cool card. But I would say if Inter win the Champions League under Simone Inzaghi, I would say go out and there and get his autograph. And then Luis Enrique has loads of cards, and there's a big sales volume on them recently. So this is interesting. Luis Enrique is doing a good job at PSG, and it's
having an impact.
Selling cards. It's moving units.
It's good to know.
It's good to know. The system works. What are we so worried about? Okay, I'm trying to shake it out. I feel like it's a weird energy on the show today.
Jason, I think it's the impending London card show tomorrow. I think we're this is why we should be doing our show on the Wednesday.
Our mind is already on the plane.
It's on the Thursday, and I'm thinking I haven't packed yet. I need to get a few bits together. So it's a bit I'll take blame for some of this.
No, it's all good. I'm sure.
What concerns me here, Jason, to be honest, is that we started this show with the Panini Premier League Prizm, and we're ending it with something that is called the dead wax theory. Yeah, well, I feel like we started with dead wax. Do you know?
Yeah, that was kind of like my hope was kind of to start off talking very excitedly about Panini Prizm and then kind of widening it out much later to the structural problems around wax at the end of the show. But we go straight into the structural problems at the start because they're unavoidable. You run into them so easily. Okay, let's take a quick break and come back to talk about dead wax and messy rookies. Okay, we're back with a couple of listener submissions here in our last segment. The first is from Alec of USMNT Soccer Cards, and he writes in, it is for you, Enzo. Enzo asked about the messy rookie mega crack boxes on the pod. From my understanding, the only way to tell which boxes potentially contain a messy 71 bis is through having a case of boxes. The boxes themselves contain no info, so someone has to witness a case of them being broken. Okay. So for anyone that didn't hear that episode, you were saying there's no way to know if the messy rookie is in the box of mega cracks or potentially in the box of mega cracks.
There's 3 series, or there's like an update series, etc. So it's hard. And Messi's only in the last one, I believe, in update 3.
Right.
And yet I'd never known how to verify that from a box. And now we have been told if someone has a sealed case, the case will tell you what
the cases are labeled.
So there you go. That makes sense.
So for all you out there holding cases of mega cracks, you now know which ones to open and get the messy rookies.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yep. Buy me a car, please. All right, let's go on to this, which is a big old email, but I think it's worth reading in full, because there's a lot to think about here. It's introducing a whole new theory on the show. So this is Sean from Sonic Cards, and Sean writes in. This is a concept I come up with recently. I wanted to hear your thoughts on the matter. But essentially, what can or should the hobby do to eliminate what I have proclaimed as the dead wax paradox? This refers to sealed wax that has so little demand anymore as its time has come and gone in the hobby, but the prices still remain at a level where it's not worth it for the average customer to buy at the current prices. Everyone with me so far? So for example, Merlin Chrome 2223 hobby box is still available on Fanatics website to purchase. Price is $180, but the demand for that year's Merlin product has come and gone with the hype. Similarly, 2020-21 EPL Prizm at around $225 and so on. These are products that don't necessarily hold huge value once the next wave of products are released, but still hold many awesome soccer cards hostage as the wax is no longer being opened at a high rate. So what we are stuck with is the paradox. There's tons of product available, but the cost of ripping a box is highly likely not going to lead to the type of return you'd want on a hobby box when it comes to the value of selling singles on the secondary market. We are left with all this sealed soccer wax that has no market, which to me means many good cards are not entering the secondary market. Being that you guys sell tons of wax, soccercardsunited.com for all your wax needs, by the way, is there a price point in which it just becomes worth it for you to fire sale dead wax like this, or does it simply become an ever-building inventory of wax that is no longer in demand, but you also couldn't justify selling hobby boxes of Prizm at $99, for example? What could holders of these types of seal wax products do in order to not lose much margin on their product, but also promote the liquidation of these types of hobby boxes that are in this limbo where no one wants them at the current price, but if the price were much cheaper, they'd be flying off the shelves, and it would be cool, it would result in some cool 101s, other product hits that haven't come out of that product. If you find this topic interesting, I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on what the hobby could do to promote these types of products being ripped more, so that these cards that are in the boxes don't simply sit there for all eternity just because the hobby's attention has moved on to the latest shiny product release. So Sean has introduced the dead wax theory. What do we make of it, Enzo?
I would say our strategy and the majority of people's strategy in the hobby that do have wax selling businesses, I would say, do just end up leaving a product at a certain price and just long term it. You know, I've had that conversation, failed conversation a few times with people trying to say to them, I plan to be in this industry for the next 10 years. And can I just say, when I say that, that's not me saying, and I know you're not going to be here in 10 years. It's just me saying, I'm planning to be here in the next 10 years. And as a result, having Serie A Select, I'm kind of just happy having it as an inventory item, right? Because it would be boring if someone joins the hobby in 5 years' time. I want them to find my website and see as expansive an amount of products as possible. Well, obviously, you also just want to sell out of everything too, because you want to clear space on the shelf. You want to get all the new stuff in. So it's like there's a balance. You want to make a living, exactly. There's a balance between that. But I do think that it gets to a point where a certain product hits a certain price point and you just kind of feel like, right, sales volume of this will be super low, but over the next, and it's never, in my experience, it hasn't been 10 years. I haven't had to do that. But it's like normally in 1 or 2 years, things sell out, you know, in general. Obviously, we wouldn't have the kind of stockpile that maybe people in the States might have, et cetera, et cetera. But in general, I don't think it's very often to see a proper fire sale of like a hobby product. It does happen. Yeah. But in general, it's like we see Premier League Prizm this year coming out at 250. If we had one of the old years that he was referring to there, yeah, it's say like the price is 220, I think he said on 2020. It's like, yeah, we might put it to 200, at which point it's like, right, for 200 you can get it from 2020, 50 euro off. You know, you're keeping it in a hobby price point. Yes. But in terms of like what can be done to do, because I do agree with that. Like how Jason, here's one. How can we get all of these amazing 101 super factors out of finance flashbacks? 22, 23.
Perfect example. Yeah.
Could we price the box at 10 euro a box where it ought to be priced? Or do you just hold it, you know? And then how do you get them out? Because like for me, I've been ripping a lot of that. We have a decent stockpile of that. I've been ripping a lot and trying to chase some really cool 101s. Desiree Doue is in there as well, so it's having a bit of a second wind. I think the answer to the question is probably breaking. I think breaking is the answer to the question. It's like, right, you're right. There is low value in 2020 Prizm to open it now compared to where the market is. Great. But if everyone put in €5 or €10 and it's part of a break, we're going to see these really cool product hits coming out. But I think breaking is the answer to that question. But again, I think breakers and I think as more, sorry Jason, cut you off, as more and more breakers get more and more allocation of all the newer products, they themselves don't necessarily have the headspace or capacity to look back at 2020 and have fun with that, because they have an invoice and product on the way for the next thing that's coming out, and they need to put all their time, energy, effort, and resources into that.
Yeah, I think like you do. Well, basically, we're what this kind of like what dead wax signifies is that the market is oversupplied. There's too much product. That's obviously like what that means. If you have, because like there are things that do sell at certain prices, but they don't sell well enough, or they don't sell. When we talk about breakers, it's like there's an oversupply. The breakers and therefore their customers, because if the breakers could sell if they had enough customers, they could sell their new stuff and still have time to sell the old stuff. They could like get through their new stuff, you know, on 5 days a week and spend 2 days a week just doing the old stuff or whatever it may be. I think what we're seeing is that soccer does not have the demand to cover all of the years of supply. I think at the time, we've been doing this podcast a long time, it occurs to me now, but I remember at the time in 2022 saying that the companies had jumped the gun entirely on soccer. Soccer had like maybe 2 good years, 1 or 2 good years, and all of a sudden the print runs went to the moon, and it's like they never came back down again. So I do think the companies jumped the gun on supply. I don't think soccer was built in a sustainable way, and I think that's why there are products that the market just goes, I don't even have time or energy to think about that because I don't have the customers who want it. There's nobody saying to their breakers, hey, would you break some 2022-23 Merlin? We want to get the Desiree Doue Merlin Chrome rookies. And if there are, there's only a very small amount of breakers that can do that. Whereas I feel, maybe this is not true, but I feel basketball breakers, NFL breakers, they do have more a larger customer base, and it just demand is like sucking but there isn't enough new product to go around, so you have to make up the shortfall with older product. Whereas with soccer, there absolutely is enough new product to go around. There's never not going to be enough new product going around. How are you going to go back and break Premier League Prizm from the previous years when there are at least five tops brands being introduced to Premier League in 2026? So I think it's essentially a problem of demand. So the question is, how do we grow demand for the soccer market? And the answer, we'll pay a lot of money if you can figure it out.
Yeah. This podcast has yet to figure it out, has yet to find out. Yeah. Listen, if anyone wants to participate in the biggest ever finest flashbacks break, multi-case break ever, to find some Desiree Douay 101s, send us a DM and we'll add you to a very special mailing list.
The flashbacks biggest ever break mailing list. I also think, just in terms of fire sailing, how it used to work, I don't know if it still works like this, but how it used to work was that if you were getting boxes directly from manufacturers, one of the reasons why you were getting those boxes directly was that an understanding that you weren't going to fire sale things because they didn't sell in the first 18 months that you had them on your shelf. Because if people start fire selling any product that goes a bit dormant for a while, how do you sell the future products? So there is a thing of it's not really in
protecting brand.
Yeah, it's protecting the brand, it's protecting the card, protecting the industry. So there's some self-preservation and not just saying nobody wants this, but they'll buy it for a tenner, so I'm just going to sell it for a tenner. Because then, in theory, the customer base could say, well, he did that with that other product, so if we just don't buy this initially, they probably fire sale this one as well, and then eventually the Premier League can't charge their big license fee.
Yeah, you can't have that.
You can't have that. That's going to hurt the Premier League, and I won't allow that. I'm trying to think any other thoughts. Okay, the other interesting point raised in there was that there are amazing cards in soccer, like the desirable cards that we're dealing with now. There are way more of them in just products that's remained unripped. And when you look at soccer prices, again, talking about lack of demand, if that is true, I don't think prices reflect that. I don't think Color Blast prices are, again, it is a single thing of like Color Blast prices are not expensive enough that it's worth going Color Blast hunting in old Prizm. So what are you going to do about that?
Yeah, how are you going to fix it? It's like, yeah, you could be chasing the Mbappe Super Factor from 2017 Chrome, but like, as good as it is that it hasn't been hit, you don't really want it to be hit at this stage. It's better to imagine what it would sell for than seeing what it's going to sell for. And
the cards that you get out of the boxes while you're doing that are not going to kind of like keep you afloat.
Certainly not.
So I think basically it just comes down to, I don't think demand in soccer is where we all think it is. I think there's a bit of an echo chamber, a bit of a bubble, and we don't realize how far behind baseball, NFL, and the NBA we still are in terms of just pure demand and pure like market capitalization. We said it at the start of the show. That's why we kind of got on a down note. But it's like there's just not enough money in soccer, and whether that be demand in terms of numbers of people, whether it be demand in terms of like average purchasing power of a soccer collector versus the average purchasing power of a basketball collector, it's probably both. A bit of both. We just need to add more people because we grew too quickly. So it's a supply demand problem. I don't think it's a structural
problem.
I don't think it's like an intractable issue that we're never going to solve. I think we just have to grow the market because the market grew too quickly.
Yeah, and it does feel like no one is willing to compromise from the manufacturer point of view. No one's willing to compromise supply, so it is demand is the
Oh yeah, supply. Like we're never going to have. We've all made it clear on podcasts, on Instagram, at card shows. Everybody that's ever talked to, like I've seen it. I've kind of introduced people to, at the Dublin Card Show, or whatever. You're with a collector, and somebody from a manufacturer walks up, and you say, "Oh, by the way, this guy's one of the top Brentford collectors, Mr. Brentford. This is this guy that works at this manufacturer." And they say, it's a lot of supply out there. You got to cut it back. And I'm like, don't say that. That's so they don't want to hear that. That's all they ever hear.
Yeah, but that's not an option.
That's not an option. That ain't happening. So
The graph
we have a
doesn't go
demand
like
issue.
that, Jason, if supply reduces. So
Yeah,
but that's definitely what happened. Soccer kind of took a huge stride forward during the COVID boom, but it also took many steps back with the supply increase that matched that demand.
Yeah.
There was a perfect way to balance that back in the day that just wasn't taken. And we're still picking up the pieces, I would say.
Because also this is, and I'll combine this. So say you're talking about the old model, the old Tops, the old Panini, now we're really in some market dynamics. So in the old Tops and Panini model, what happened was there was a boom. You printed your way into the boom. You rode the wave, and then you accepted that there would be a crash. And then when it crashed, you started all over again with a low print run, and you built the print run back up. But what's happened is there was a boom. They printed into the boom, so the print runs are all up here. And then at that point, up here, Fanatics came in, bought Tops, and Michael Rubin said, "No, we're not doing cyclical anymore." So now the built-in crash is not happening.
Yeah, and then Panini know they're losing their licenses, so they're not reducing their print runs. They're making money while they can.
They're getting out on a high. And so what was never supposed to be, it wasn't like the soccer company, it wasn't like the manufacturer said, all right, soccer from now on forever has these huge print runs. It was like, we're going to print soccer into the moon for the next 2 years or for as long as we can get away with it. And then prices are going to crash and we're going to readjust and we'll try again. And over time, like the starting point of the boom rises, but it's kind of like this and it goes like that. But then it'd be easier if I had a whiteboard. But then Fanatics came in and they said, don't move, don't you dare. We're just going to keep those. We'll do whatever we have to. Product innovation, marketing, expanding the base, opening a shop, whatever, to make sure that we never have that. And so we're now left with loads of wax in soccer that nobody could reasonably get through without many, many more people in the soccer hobby.
Yep.
So you've got to appear, when Luton get promoted, you have to appear at their stadium and tell them about the hobby, because otherwise we're not going to get through all this Premier League Prizm.
Yeah, what's going to sell that year's stuff? It should be the Luton fans.
I feel like that was very cathartic. I feel like Sean almost provided the dead wax theory in answer to the conversation we had about Premier League Prizm an hour ago.
It was dark. I don't know what was darker, this episode or the last one. I think people listening and tuning in might be very confused. They're just like overly concerned. But like, we do get that question all the time. People going, "Oh, is it a junk wax era? Is it a junk slab era? What's going to happen?" That people are always concerned about the boom. And as we told them at the industry conference, Michael Rubin said, "There's not going to be a bust, so don't you worry about that."
Yeah,
there's no such thing as junk wax. All wax is good.
All wax is good wax.
That's right.
Yeah. And also, like, we've seen a softening in singles prices in soccer, apart from Messi and Lamine Yamal and now Cristiano Ronaldo on-card Manchester United autographs. But I don't want to reopen that whole case. But anyway, we've seen a softening in singles prices that hasn't necessarily been as harsh in the other sports, I don't think. Which means I feel like soccer's almost like we're like kind of doggy paddling our way. Like we're like, I'm drowning under all these.
And by the way, you have soccer where there's like a lack of chase cards oftentimes, or a lack of the thing that's really pushing up the prices of product. And then you're seeing things like these black kabooms, Jason, that keep coming to market, having never been hit.
Yes, yeah, which means the money isn't even getting distributed evenly.
Yeah, definitely not. So I seen a Zidane 1-of-1 for sale via an untraceable sale channel, and the Zidane 1-of-1 was never hit from a product, etc. So yeah, Panini have a problem over there, the Panini warehouse, in my opinion, with some of these big hits.
But it's a case of, I think soccer, like they've started like the soccer hobby economy is a little bit too extractive. It's just money coming out of it all the time from the money you take, and it's not like there isn't the healthy ecosystem. There isn't the money being shared around, and therefore the collectors, it's like the purchasing power of the collectors is never increasing. They're never actually getting to keep any of the money from the cards, and therefore they can't drive up prices because they don't have any more money than they had last year. They've less.
I just think we fundamentally in soccer are suffering from the hobby expanded too fast for soccer, and we're still trying to catch up.
Yeah,
and they're not letting us catch up because they just keep increasing. It's like no, it's gonna, and eventually there will be a kind of a point. But the problem is when new people are coming into the hobby now, it's like almost hard to get them in. You know what I mean? It's sometimes it's kind of like people are like, I'm thinking about starting. I see Premier League Prizm came out and it's $250. I'm gonna buy that. I support Man United, and it's like, oftentimes the best advice for that person is don't do that. Literally though, like don't do that. If you buy that box, you're gonna open it, you're gonna get 3 numbered cards, you're gonna have so much base that's not really worth anything, and you're gonna be very disappointed. And then you're gonna go, I don't know why I thought this was a good idea, but I'm getting out of this.
Yeah.
And that's partially because when you open a box, chances are you're gonna get a load of 199s and maybe a 99 if you're lucky, and you're gonna have a base autograph of a Brentford player, with all due respect to Brentford. And it's just like, ugh. Whereas it's like, that's because the wax has been so printed. That's like the value isn't there. Because like everyone will complain, oh, when you buy a box of cards, you're gonna lose money. It's always it's a risk. You're never gonna make money. It's like, and that's fine. But I do feel as the years have gone on, the value proposition has just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Where it's not it's so far from unfeasible to have like €30 value from a €400 box.
And I think we've seen the explosion in breaking has been in direct response to that. People are like,
it had to happen, yeah.
It had to happen because, you know, we talk about like say hobby box is €200 and you get €100 value back out of it, which is like a pretty good return in today's market.
You've hit a
but
case
imagine
hit.
it. Yeah, imagine you get the case hit, you get €100 back for your €200 hobby box. It's like the argument has been made that the other €100, the shortfall of €100 is made up by entertainment, which people just weren't finding to be true at all. So what breaking has done is like buying into break is actually that movie ticket analogy
experience,
kind of does start to play in a little bit more, because you can buy into break for about the price of a cinema ticket in most cases. But you're right, it's not great to be kind of saying to people, don't, if they say, which one of these should I buy? And you go, none. You know, you must have listened to this many episodes of Soccer United before you could buy.
You must have bought 10 singles for your PC before you open a box.
Yeah.
There you go. A somber episode on. I'm excited for the London Card Show. I do feel like it'll pick us up a bit, Jace. I think we need a small pickup.
Oh yeah. Let's do any other business very quickly on the London Card Show.
And now, gentlemen, is there any other business?
London Card Show this weekend. Harry and the team did announce that next year in April they're going to be in the XL, which is a huge venue in London.
Yeah.
For ourselves, we always hate getting to the actual current venue, so it'll be interesting to see how the difference is. Maybe it's like you wish for something in central London until you get it, kind of thing.
Yes.
That'll be interesting to see. But yeah, this weekend we're going to be at the London Card Show. 3 tables, 3 days. By the way, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
New preview day.
Yeah, there's a new preview day on the Friday. We're excited for it. I have a bit of packing to do after this, but it shouldn't take me too long. I'm going to be solo on the Sunday. We didn't have coverage for me. I'm going to be solo on the Sunday. So if any of our dear friends are in London and want to, give me 5 minutes to get some lunch on the Sunday.
Someone could just relieve Enzo for a few minutes. It'd be great.
I haven't looked at the floor plan yet, Jason, but I'm fairly confident our island will have some friendly faces on it. I hope.
I think it usually does.
And I'm excited.
Are we doing all wax no singles tables this weekend?
All wax no singles. We have been super busy. If you can tell, we've been super busy. Singles are harder to organize than the wax, so we're just going to keep it wax only. I could not imagine a world where I'm handling singles on my own on the Sunday. The wax only.
No, that certainly wouldn't work.
Gives me an opportunity to have a more manageable Sunday. Yeah, solo Sunday.
So you have to find other vendors to fulfill all your soccer singles needs, but I don't think you'll have a hard time doing that.
Certainly not.
At a show like the London Card Show, my God, there's so many options. So we'll see everybody that we'll see in London, and we'll see everybody else for episode 279 next week.
Jason, I'll see you bright and early tomorrow for our Aer Lingus flight.
Yes, and if Aer Lingus are listening, that sponsorship, I know this episode wasn't necessarily the best advertising for the spot. They're like, we're not putting our logo on this.
Yeah, Janie Macaroni. Oh,
dead wax. Don't say that. Come on, we're Aer Lingus, guys. We're not trying to say the word dead. Anyway, look, have a good weekend and we'll see you soon.